this one, they said, according to this article, is unsettling pictures of uh, unsettling art of the deaf photography. Let me get it like this. Now, the reason why they call it unsettling because those, though all the children, the little one at the back, right? She is not here, right? She's not here. She's left Earth and stuff, and they propped her so that she can be with her brothers and sisters and stuff. This child on the end is basically, and the rest of the children are alive. Now, underneath the picture, it says it is common for families to have lots of children and also common for them to die before their fifth birthday. And in this picture, the youngest child has died and propped up against the stand for a picture. Photographs of loved ones taken after they died may seem morbid to modern civilities, but in Victorian England, they became a accommodating the dead and blurting ups of grief. In the images, they are both unsettling and strangely potent. Families pose with the dead. Infants appear to sleep. Cons- consumptive, consumptive. I can't even say that word. Young ladies elegantly recline. The disease not only taking their life but increasing the beauty. Victorian life was suffused with the deaf. Academics such as diphtheria, uh, cholera, and from 1816, the bereaved queen made mourning fashionable. So basically, oh look, so the man I can't say the word now. The memento, literally meaning remember you must die, took several forms and existed long before Victorian times. Long exposes when taking photographs meant that the dead was often seen more sharply than the slightly blurred living because of the lack of movement. On some occasions, eyes would be painted photographed after it was developed, which was meant to make the deceased more lifelike, while other times death was more obvious. Locks of hair cut from the dead were arranged and worn in lockets and rings, and death mask was created in wax. The images and symbols of death appeared in painting sculptures, but in the mid 1800s, photography became increasingly popular and affordable, leading to memento mori photo portrayal. The first successful form of photography, the daguerreotype, a highly detailed picture on a pullover, was an expensive luxury, but not nearly as costly as many as one as not but not nearly as costly as a portrait painted, which previously had been the only way of permanently preserving someone's image. As the number of photographs increased, the cost fell less, and procedures was introduced in the 1850s, such as using thin metal, glass, or a paper rather than silver. In case one twin has died, the other survived. The dead baby was surrounded by flowers. Two girls pose with their dead mother while a Victorian father mourns his baby. The woman on the right, cheeks have been tinted while her deceased toddler remains pale. The whole household, including the cat, has gathered round a dead child on the floor who is posed as if sleeping. The death portraits became increasingly popular. Victorian nurseries was plagued by measles and diphtheria and scarlet fever and rubella, all of which could be fatal. It was often the first time families thought of having photographs taken. It was the last chance to have a permanent likeness of a child, but as health improved, the life expectancy of children and the demand for death photography diminished. The advent snapshots sound the death call for the art, as most families would have photographs taken in life. Now, these images of men and women and children containing the grief in order to preserve the likeness of taken too so soon, loved ones continue to live up to their name. Remember, you must die. Oh, the boy's eyes have been painted on the photo, while the little girl is arranged upwardly as if she dropped off to sleep while playing with her favorite dolls. The death of a loved one was often the trigger to have family portrait taken, the last chance to have a permanent record of a beloved child. The photography was not popular in Europe. These photographs was taken in Australia and are part of the collection at the of South the State Library of South Australia. Now they look very sinister, I know, the last ones. But like they said, there was plagues and stuff going on in London. And these photographs you'll normally see in people's houses and stuff like that to, I think I've seen photographs like this in people's houses as well. But there's also, let me see if I could find the other one. Right, so I'm going to show another set of people living with the dead, as that is photographs of people remembering their dead relatives. Living with the dead. Now, most of us don't think to like most of us don't like to think or talk about death, but there are some people who do. In the regions of in Indonesia, the dead are a consistent part of the day-to-day life. Okay, we're not going to go to too much of the images because they say it's too disturbing. The plain wood paneling living room with no furniture just saw a few pictures on the wall is filled with chattering voices and the smell of coffee. It is an intimate family gathering. How is your father? One guest asks. The host, the mood suddenly changes and everybody glances at the small room in the corner where an old man is laying on a colourful bed. He's still sick, replies the daughter, smiling. Ma Meki Lisa gets up and walks over.
Pakaikan formalin
communities where the dividing line between this world and the next is like a thin veil. A place with lessons for all of us. A place where I was deeply affected. This is Living with the Dead.
Sebenarnya sudah 12 tahun meninggalkan kami.
Even though as far as logically he's passed away, but we here and we tell the grandchildren he's just sleeping, so he's part of that daily life in the family.
Right next to the living room, in the biggest bedroom of the house, is where they keep the deceased, whom they never ever leave on his own, and somebody always stays in the house with him. They leave a pack of cigarette by his bedside because he was a smoker when he was alive, and they serve his food twice a day. Every time the family eats, they leave his bedside. So here we have rice, spoon for him to have his rice with, water, coffee, and a bowl of water in the corner of the room. And this is basically meant to be the toilet for the deceased. They really do treat him as if he's a sick person, not a dead one.
Karena selalu ada di antara kami. Jadi kalau kakak pulang dari rantau,
When different relatives come from other areas, they always come straight up to him and talk to him and see him, and they feel like he's still part of the family.
All my life, I've been scared of corpses and dead people. And I never even went to see my dad's body when he passed away before the burial. Yet I'm standing here looking at this man, and it's cool. I'm fine. Sirinda was a rich man, and he owned a large herd of prized buffaloes. He died at the age of 105, so his family say that he's now 117. Sirinda's grandchildren, who live in this house, play games around him, and he sometimes becomes a part of their games. Here, I see no element of fear towards the dead.
masih keluarga, tapi anaknya saya nikah
For
dengan
Tanus Rajan people, we grow up with corpses in our houses, and it's a very normal part of our life. And there's no reason at all to be scared. Actually, my feeling towards him is not one of fear, but it's a much more like I love him even more, and I feel a sadness because he's there and he's left this world. My grandmother, she died in 1974 when I was at primary school in grade 3, and she was in our house for 3 years before we had the ceremony. So when I was around 9 years old, it was a very normal thing that she was there.
I found it very confusing when referring to him. I wasn't sure if I should refer to him in the past tense or present. On one hand, he's left this world, and in the other, he's physically here, and his family believe that he's still very much around. One thing that really impresses me is how well preserved these bodies are. I mean, your father's been, his soul left his body 12 years ago, and he still looks so good. How do you do this?
ya inilah di apa nih, dipakaikan formalin begitu, disuntikkan.
In modern
Tapi ini
times,
Bapak
we
dulu
use formalin and we use sort of chemicals to preserve the body, and that's either injected into the body to try and preserve it. But with our father, we used an infusion, so it was pumped into the body, and that's why he's preserved so well. It's very
Oh, it's formalin. I'm saying formaldehyde. I'm sorry. My bad. My reading is a lot to be desired, but it just shows you, innit, how the people and how we in the West look at death and how they look at death. I mean, other countries, it's like a celebrated thing, you know. In Louisiana, it's a celebrated thing, and I'm gonna do on Louisiana as well because they look at it like a celebration. Like the person, it's like they're really celebrated. It's not like a loss as well. And the fact that the body is still in the house, even is I mean that's something of also in I think in some part of Africa they do the same thing. So them living actually with the corpse now, that's a whole another something else. But as I've shown in Victoria times, they used to do it in England anyway. So this might not sound strange to other people. So the fact that how right they have the body there, the children's playing around them, you know, having your ancestor living in with right there with you. I know she's going to come to the part with the little small statues that is mounted up in the little house as well. So I'm going to let it play on as well.
Sitting on the balcony sipping on hot coffee, I'm looking at his only picture in the family album. I see an old man in his late 80s, early 90s. This must have been taken in the last few years of his life. He's wearing the same hat I saw next to him in the bed. He's got the same strong cheekbones. He actually looks very similar to the man in that bed, the man who's been dead for 12 years. He's even wearing the same jacket, the same bag that was left next to him. I wonder if the same belongings are in this bag. I saw a lot of money in the other one. Well, he was a rich man.
Makanya awet dia punya, badannya awet, dan ini salah satunya caranya.
He was alone at home and he fell down the bottom when he was trying to hang out some clothes. Because my father wasn't sick, he fell. There was no process of illness. It was very sudden, and at that time I didn't feel, I couldn't let him go. I wasn't ready for it.
Kasih kayunya.
When my father passed away, it was very sudden. It was all too quick. Still, years on, I still haven't adjusted. Do you think that this process, having him in the house, in your case for 12 years, do you think this helps you deal with the grief?
Pastinya, pasti membantu. Karena kalau
Yes, it definitely helps. If it's very sudden, then you feel the pain very suddenly and you don't have time to deal with it. So I think it very much helps the process of healing. These years have helped me.
It was beautiful hearing his daughter talk about how she had the time to adjust to him passing away. I wish I had that opportunity. I mean, would I have the body of my dead father in my house for years? I'm not sure, but I sure would have liked the opportunity.
Now you can hear the Western ignorance coming out of her now, because they've been this for centuries, so it's nothing. To us, it will be something else. No, we would obviously not have a corpse in the house with us, obviously, but they've been doing this for centuries, where they had the bodies in the house. So why would you say whatever? That's just the Western mind. Once again, the Western mind always comes into work. Now we're going to listen on further.
Opportunity to adjust to my father passing away. So it wasn't so sudden. So it wasn't like 1 minute he's there and the next he's gone forever. 12 years is a very long time. How come it's taken this long to hold a funeral and bury your father?
ya itu tadi saya sudah katakan bahwa
Basically, there's two reasons. It's good that he's in the house and he's here and he's still with us as a family. At the same time, within our culture, we also need to prepare a great deal of things for the funeral. So we need to have a lot of buffaloes ready. And we've got 6 buffaloes ready for his funeral, but we need many more. So there's a whole process that we need to go through before the funerals can take place to make sure we do it right for him. He's already had one ceremony, the first ceremony, and we sacrificed 115 buffaloes at that ceremony. That was about 6 months after he died. And then now we're preparing, saving up all the things we need for his final funeral.
The dead finally leave their family home for the first time at unimaginably lavish funerals. Families spend most of their lives saving for these rituals. According to ancient animist beliefs here, this is where the soul finally ascends to a celestial cosmos, and from there watches over living relatives, bringing them good fortune, as long as families take care of their dead and pay them suitable tributes. funerals are a very important element to the Torajan funerals because they are believed to be the carriers of the deceased soul into the afterlife. And that's why families here sacrifice as many buffaloes as they can to ease the journey of their dead into afterlife. Here's my guide, Yusuf.
The sacrifice, it's one part of helping your soul to reincarnation. The family believe the spirit's still around here. They are not going far away. The family will feel the soul will be going away after the burial time. There's a place we call Puya, where you can pass until your reincarnation. You will be returned to the earth to watching and to open the way to your family. They watching us from the far away, always watching us.
But here, even the funerals don't mean goodbye, and the physical relationship between dead and the living continues long after. I've traveled to another Torajan village called Bantakaruha to witness an even more unusual ritual. It's Sunday morning, and like many other Christian communities around the world, people of this village in Tanah Toraja are gathered in this very modest church on top of a very, very, very steep hill. But it's definitely worth the climb. I mean, I look around and I can see every single shade of green. I can hear this amazing prayer from inside the church. It feels very spiritual. I'm going in. The Sunday prayers are now finished, and these people are gathered outside the church. They are preparing for a less usual ritual. The ritual is called Mak Nenek, otherwise known as a secondary funeral. At this ceremony, every couple of years, families bring the coffins of long departed relatives out of their tombs and open them up for a big family reunion. At Mak Nenek ceremonies, friends and family offer food and cigarettes to the dead and lovingly groom and clean them. Then they pose with them for new family portraits. Andy Lolo is a Torajan professor of sociology.
Mak Nenek means doing something for someone beloved who has passed away as an appreciation to honor the beloved dead person. From the sociological perspective, that's a kind of keeping social interaction between those who are still alive and those already died. They believe the dead persons always look after the relatives because they still believe that the dead person is still alive somewhere.
A short walk away from the church, everybody's gathered outside a small square building with orange tiles and no windows. This is a family tomb. There is a small doorway at knee height, halfway up the wall. Everybody's here for the Mak Nenek of a woman called Maria Solo. She died 3 years ago. They say she's now 93 and was placed in this family tomb last year. Now it's time for her to come back out. This is the tomb where she's buried. They've just opened the door and they're about to get out. There are various bodies laid there. The mood here is actually quite extraordinary. I have a strange feeling. I'm shaking. They've a big rug. They've laid it right outside the tomb. The door is open. The daughters are still crying outside, and they're about to bring the body out. They're bringing out the coffin. Everyone's moving back. The men are helping. Maria Solo's red cylindrical coffin is decorated with geometrical patterns in gold and silver. There are dozens of mourners gathered around the coffin, which is sitting on a rug outside the tomb. I notice one in particular, a petite woman in her late 30s, stroking the coffin and staring at it with a lot of affection. Her name is Esther Sobon. My colleague Rebecca translates my conversation with her.
I'm married to her son. I'm her daughter-in-law. She was very good to me. I mean, she said to me, "You are my child." She's a lot of fun, and she liked to joke around. When I met her, she was very happy and kind of cheeky.
Close family members have placed offerings to Maria on top of her coffin. Cocoa plant leaves, cigarettes, bitter nuts, and fresh buffalo ears. There is one more ritual that needs to be carried out before they open the coffin, and that's sacrificing a buffalo. Now that they've cut the buffalo's neck and the buffalo's dead, they're about to open the coffin. Everything's happening very fast.
And most probably that buffalo will be shared to the whole village, like what they do in Africa, basically. When after a ritual's done or something, they always give the whole village the meat, and nothing is left of the animal. And sometimes before they even cut the animals, in most countries, they pray over the animal, they ask it for its life or whatever, and then they do that. So everything has significance. Like people do things in different ways in different countries, but it just means different stuff in different countries. So yeah.
They're preparing to open the coffin. They've opened the coffin. There is a very strange smell. It's not a bad smell, it's a musty smell. I'm looking inside. Oh my God. The body of a small old woman lies motionless inside. Her white hair is neatly tied back, exposing her thin face. Her mouth and eyes are half open, and her grey skin makes her look more like a stone statue than a dead woman. She's covered in layers and layers of clothes. They're lifting the clothes, checking what condition she's in. It's in an incredible condition. Her hands are covered in very strange insects. I've never seen these insects before. Oh, her wedding ring is still on. Her feet look incredibly well preserved. They just look like an old woman's feet. The nails are a bit grown. The family members are touching Maria Solo. Can I touch? Yeah. I'm gonna try to touch her hair just as everybody else does, as a sign of respect. Beautifully brushed. The hair feels normal. Still very soft. They're lifting her from the coffin, standing her up so that people and relatives can take pictures. In some villages, they literally change the outfit into a new fashionable one. But here, because they're Christians, they don't want to mess around too much with the corpse, and they keep simple. They're just wrapping her inside this white sheet. I was lucky to see a Matnene. Practices like this are slowly disappearing, as in recent years, over 80% of Torajans have turned away from the old animist called Alek Totolo and have become Christians. Here is Professor Andy Lolo again.
At the beginning of Christianity here, no manene, because it was forbidden by the missionaries. But later, in 50s, they start again, because at that time, it was very difficult to make people become Christian.
These people seem to be torn between two worlds. On one hand, they are very committed Christians with strong beliefs.
Yeah, between traditions and Christianity. So that must be a right tussle there, because they're probably not even dealing with things how they would have done back in the past when dealing with the dead or the ancestors, the ones who passed away, because they just wrapped her. But I mean, I get it. Obviously, right, you don't want to disturb much of the body and stuff like that. I get that part. But it's when religion steps in, traditions get lost because of religion. Traditions from centuries, what their ancestors probably have been doing for centuries and centuries and centuries. Now it's like, it's losing. It's losing. The traditions are losing gradually as the generations change. And when religion comes in, Christianity or Muslim, whatever, any which one of those interferes with the belief systems of the people and the place, and that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to me. What happened? So yeah.
On the other, they're practicing all these rituals that are very much related to the old religion. I've come back to Esther Sopon, Maria Solo's daughter-in-law. She also converted to Christianity, and I wanted to find out how she combines her religion and culture. Would you like people to do manene to you when you're dead?
Kalau menurut pribadi saya, kalau kita orang Kristen,
I don't think I do actually, because I'm a Christian and it breaks the rules of my religion. For a Christian, it believes that when you die, your spirit's gone from your body. That's just a body; it doesn't have a spirit anymore. So, what you witnessed earlier, like the tradition of us giving her food and tobacco and the betel nuts and everything, makes it seem as if her spirit's still there, and that's where the problem is.
On one hand, you say it contradicts with your beliefs. On the other, everybody's doing it, that they're all very much Christians.
Because as a Christian, it is difficult. It's not the belief but at the same time, I can't deny my identity as a Tanah Torajan woman, and that's my culture and that's my place. So I can't let go of that.
This is Mega. She is one of the close relatives of Maria Solo, and she's one of the only Muslims in this area. I'm going to ask her a few questions about where Manene fits in with her beliefs and her religion. So, as a Muslim, how does that fit with your beliefs? Does that not contradict with your beliefs?
Kalau saya pribadi tidak ada masalah karena saya.
Well, personally, I don't have any problems with it. You know, I'm from Toraja and I'm only following my family's tradition and customs.
So you think that maybe it helps you deal with the pain and it makes it easier?
Iya, terobati.
Yeah, but if I attend Manene, I'd feel guilty. My late father is also buried here, and I come here every year to perform these rituals on him. These ceremonies are important to me because they're a way of remembering and paying tribute to our late family and relatives.
Even the Muslim woman, okay, I'll take it back. Even the Muslim woman wants to keep to the traditions. The Christian one doesn't want to keep the traditions of looking after that body, giving them the cigars, the bitter nuts and all that stuff. And she sounds like she's more into the old traditions than the other Christian one that just spoke. See what I mean? What the difference? So I'll take back what I said about the Muslim on this level. She proved me wrong.
Whenever I attend the ceremony, I feel as though the burden of loss has been lifted.
When you couldn't see the body, when it was inside the coffin, even I was shaking. I was a lot more nervous. They seemed more upset. Well, the relatives. But now everybody's content. Even I'm not as nervous or as scared. After cleaning the coffin and fixing some of the broken parts, they're now putting Maria Solo's belongings back in there. From the sheet she slept in one day to the clothes she wore They want to make sure that this is neat, respectful, comfortable. One of the daughters wants this to be done differently, as the others argue that it should be done another way. They put a soap on top, her belt, even the flip-flops she wore one day, the bag that she carried around. This is everything that was in the bag. Screwdriver in an oval-shaped vintage container containing the pink thread and needles that she once made her clothes with and fixed them. And now they're carrying the body and carefully placing her back inside the coffin. They're putting the red lid on, just like that. Manene was performed. How do you think Manene helps you deal with the grief of losing a loved one?
Macam kita orang berduka,
You're revisiting that grief and the crying, but by releasing that emotion, that those tears, and that really does make you feel lighter. But there's also happiness because, of course, we're gathering here together as family and friends, and we're seeing people that we haven't seen for a long time. So there's that sense of community that also makes it very helpful in dealing with our grief.
Do you think that's healthier?
kalau menurut saya lebih bagus kalau bilang dikubur kita lihat kan.
Us, we see it and we feel satisfied. It feels like it helps create a kind of feeling of conclusion and ending because we saw it. So I think that's much better.
But for me, I want to remember my dad when he was alive. I'm worried that if I see him dead, his identity will change in my mind.
Kalau menurut saya kan
I don't really think like that. I mean, I still remember my dad and my parents. It doesn't wipe that out. And it does really still bring back the emotion when I come back here and I remember them as people and I grieve for them as people alive.
Professor Andy Lolo, on the other hand, thinks that even I have performed Manene without realizing. When you bury them, you dig out that person. It's not a permanent goodbye. It's not that you will never see them again. You see them again, and it must be quite comforting, no?
What did you do to your father after he died?
We buried him.
And then until now,
I
you
visit his
visit
grave
his
sometimes.
grave sometimes. You did actually Manene in different way.
How?
Because you visit the grave of your father because you still remember him as your father. And you still have an emotional relationship with him. Your love to your father, never ending, right?
Hmm.
And that's the principle of Manene.
But then
different-
I don't do it the same
No,
way
no, no,
as you.
no,
I mean,
no. By doing Manene, they still keep the emotional relationship between them and the dead person.
I'm not sure if living a life focused almost entirely around death is for me, but I often avoid thinking about my dad because his death makes me so sad, and then I feel guilty because I'm not thinking about him. But maybe I can really learn something here from the Torajans, and the fact that they really keep this strong connection that they feel with their long departed relatives, so that maybe their death doesn't have to mean goodbye. I'm Saha Zand, and you've been listening to Living with the Dead, produced by Rebecca Hinchke.
Wow, that was powerful, eh? Anyways, so those who have relatives buried who hasn't got the who haven't had cremations and stuff like that, you are doing a traditional thing for your relatives by going to see them, carrying food, flowers, etc. Now, this is not a bad thing to talk about. I mean, everybody is scared to talk about this side of life. It is a cycle. It's a cycle, like, you know. So it's like, I would say, like when you go to visit the places to which people who are gone, well, they're not gone, they're still there, right? They're just in a different form. You are actually still creating their existence with you. They are still existing, basically. So, we who's in the West, we have a great ignorance against certain stuff. You know, as the Victorians shown, they will prop up the dead. They will make the dead look nice and take photographs with them, right? As the Trojans, now I got their name right, the Trojans do. They take them out of the spaces where they are, like sacred mounds, supposedly. They tend to them. They do a whole ceremony. They sing. You hear the singing. You hear the crying, right? And it helps them to deal with grief. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Even looking at a photograph of the person, acknowledging that person. People hate to talk about ancestors, but wait a minute. When people pass, they become our ancestors. We become ancestors. Sooner or later, we will be the ancestors. So you put that picture up. Why are you putting pictures of them on tables and having flowers around, flowers in jars and plants and all that? See, like as they said, the Indonesia calls it menene. So as much as the West don't want to acknowledge certain stuff, right? The West does just as much ancestor worship as around the world. It's just that they look at it differently. They look at it with through the eyes of ignorance. Then they bring in religion into it as well, which doesn't help. Sort of being open-minded. Now, I'll tell you a reason why I looked at this. Now, when my mum passed away, I remember walking into the room where she was, and her mouth was open. I was trying to close it, and she looked as though she was sleeping. She didn't look like she was disturbed or anything, you know what I mean? So this have great understanding. I have a great understanding with this, what they're talking about. The only difference is I can't go to my grandma where she is. I can't go to where she's rested or nothing. So all I have is pictures of her, which I look at now and again, you know, because my gran used to talk a lot. She used to be a talkative person. She used to be a strong woman. I always said it. She was a strong woman. So even in death, she was strong. Okay. So as much as the circumstances to which she died wasn't the greatest of greatest, but she looked well rested. It's just that she wanted to say something before she left. So I tried to close her mouth. Now, when you're trying to close it, the person's mouth, is very hard to close the mouth because, you know, and all that. So, you know, all this has great relevance to how I think and how I feel about death, how I look at death as well. And I know people are going through stuff right now at present, but you just keep them in a good mind, you know. You keep the good side of them, right? So basically, if you got photographs of the person, you got flowers and stuff like that, you are doing manene in your own way. You are remembering them, remembering their good sides and their bad sides and their upsides. And traditions work. I feel traditions work. I think if I was brought up in a traditional home of some sort, I mean, I am kind of brought up in a traditional home. I was brought up in a traditional home. West Indians do this thing called 9 nights, where they celebrate the life of that person for 9 nights, exactly 9 nights. You celebrate, you talk about the person, you remember that person, you know, you eat, you drink, you remember. That's so that to me that's Manene too. So I don't know what else to say really. I mean, if you have any other comments you'd like to leave under the video, you can do so. I love hearing about traditional stuff, however form it comes in. This is obviously quite fitting for this video. So with that said, I'm going to leave and have a good night, good morning wherever you are. Thank you, Sky Dicus, for passing through. You, when you are on Hi, I'm trying to get back used to this dashboard. I'm trying to highlight your Jaded and Hood Therapy. I keep calling you Hood Therapy, but this dashboard is very hard to control. I think because I've been on the other side a lot. That video, in a nutshell, seal the thing basically. I always talk about graveyards, I talk about graveyards. I feel when my stepson died and I was in the graveyard, I was tempted to pick up the soil. And in certain traditions, when you pick up the soil, that's a memory of the person that where they're buried or whatever. I love the fact that these traditions continuously continue. I mean, there are some really strange ones where the wife have to sleep with the husband's dead body in her room. I think that's an African tradition. There is loads of traditions to do with death. I feel that's a side that people will never want to talk about. But like I said, this is Living with the Dead Reloaded in it. So I'm going to say that even though it's a sad time for some, for all the family, but you still have that great memory of that person. You have that memory that sits with you forever. You never forget the mama in the house, the grandmother, the mother. Even if a young one passes very young, strange, because after I finished that video, I switched off the video and there was a funeral video up in Jamaica, and it was like, wow, like everything goes one after the other with me, I feel. So I know I'm not, this is not just talking for the sake of bringing it for views or whatever. It's something I feel that we all need to talk about. It's a prickly subject to some, because some people probably passed in other ways unmentionable, which we can't mention on here. So, but thank you for passing through, Jaded Emperor and Hood Therapy. I don't know what's wrong with the highlighting thing. I don't know. It just changed. The whole format is changed. They updated a few things over here. That's what I noticed. So with that said, I'm going to leave it at that really. I'm not going to expand on it too much. If I come back, it'd be to probably bring another video to forward with this one. Everything have to have a connection to something. Life is a cycle. You start off as a baby, then you get to your middle age, then you get old, then you die. And some people just don't want to even think about it, don't even want to put it in their head or nothing. And I'll bring Tupac into this because Tupac also saw his death before he died as well. So, and we still remember him. So his memory lives on. So we are always doing Manene, as they say. So with that said, I'm going to do it's my intro, but but because of this, I think it's a fitting intro outro. But thank you guys for coming through. I will see you because I can't see the exact count of people that's in the chat neither. The dashboard is really off, really hard to deal with. I have to go back and relearn now. So with that said, I'm going to put up my intro outro. Oops, wrong one. See, I even chose the wrong thing. Okay, I forgot to turn off the mic. I can do it. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.